All right. So let's review what we've done so far. We have created anytime anybody makes a request to my project's books/something, we're going to take them over to the books URLs. So we've created two routes. One is for all of them. One of those is to view an individual one. Now let's create a form to create a new one. Because right now we're just putting a bunch of stuff inside of the, using the shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new view. So whenever anybody makes a request to books/new, I'm going to take them to the views file, specifically the book create method. So inside of here, I'm going to create that book create. Def book create. It's going to take in some sort of request and then do something with it. Now, I need to create a form at this point. So I could render a request, which will take me to a form that I'll create, and I'm going to get all the responses and everything back. But that takes too much time, and honestly, they're really nice about it. So Django gives you something built in called model form. So I'm going to do all of my imports at the very top. I'm going to create my class called book form. Book form is a class that inherits from model form. This meta class underneath it is just the way that it's set up, but essentially what it's asking for is, I'll create you a form, just tell me what model you're talking about. So I passed that in on line 7. What fields are you looking for? I'm looking for title, I'm looking for pages, I'm looking for genre, and I'm also looking for author. These are the column names that directly correspond to this particular book table. And just like that, that's the entire form. Like everything else is going to be rendered out for you from this tiny bit of code. So I've got my book request. I'm going to pass this in here. Just alter a few things. All right. So I've got a book create method. So if you take a look inside our URLs, it's saying anytime anybody makes a request to /books/new, I'm taking them to the book create method. So first things first, I create my form. The form is going to be an instance of the book form that I created up here. Again, this book form has a class called meta inside of it. It's basically saying, what model do you want me to create a form for? And what fields do you want on that form? So I just want title, pages, genre, and author.
I have a question about
yes.
that. Why are you making that a class and not just a function in that class? Book form.
Book form?
Well, why are you making meta a class as opposed to a function?
That's just the way that it's set up. I really that's it.
And that book form just bypasses you having to like create a form in the actual HTML file, correct?
Pretty sure. We'll find out in just a second. Let me verify. Yeah, that is true. So this is, you could type in a form, and it's not difficult to create an HTML form. You just Google HTML form, and then whatever shows up at W3 schools. But you have to do extra things. Once you submit that form, you have to parse through everything that person typed, find the right things, and then save it inside the database. This book form abstracts all of that away for you. It creates the HTML for you. It creates the proper fields. It captures the proper fields, and it matches it up to the database and just saves it inside the database, which is a little bit of magic. I'm not the biggest fan, but at the same time, that's okay for right now.
Does it automatically do validation? So because in the database you set like the max characters, so if someone enters 300 characters.
Let's find out. All right, so with that, we're going to get to that in just a second. We've got this book create method. We're going to create an instance of the form. It's either going to be a post request. If it's a post request, then it's going to be one that saves into the database. Or if it's not a post request, I'm just going to create a book form that doesn't do anything except just render itself. If the form's valid, I'm going to save it into the database and redirect them to book list. And I need to put in redirect up here as well. So think about it. When I save something, when I create an order, somewhere. I press submit, and then they're like, here's your order. Let me redirect you afterwards to the main page. Bobby?
Where you on line 19,
Yeah.
you have request post or none. Can you use the straight up and down like line instead of that? Or,
Like that?
yeah, but the H1.
I think is it 1 in Python? Might be. I'm pretty sure you can, just for the sake of keeping the class moving. I will keep it as or, but we can try that a little bit later. So if the form is valid, I'm going to save it and redirect them to the book list. If it's not valid, meaning that if there's nothing inside of the form, I'm going to take them to this particular template. I'm going to pass in the entire form. I'm going to say new or edit, because the edit and the new probably use more or less the same form, so I'm going to just create one form and just change something at the very top. We'll see that in just a second. So under books, I'm going to create a new file. It's going to be called bookform.html. And bookform just literally looks like this. No HTML, no form for, no like action or anything like that. It's just form method equals post. It takes a token just to verify that it's coming from the right place. And then form as P. That's it. I don't know what as P actually stands for, but
As compared to is as other ones as well.
cool. Just as form as P, and it'll create the entire form for you. And then there's a submit button. And there's this book form, new or edit. I put that in there personally because I figured since new and edit are using more or less the same form, I figured I'd just have a little thing at the top that differentiates if it's a new book or I'm editing a book. So jumping back, if I go to books/1, book/new, the entire book form comes up. I didn't type anything. The only thing I did was go inside of views.py, go up to the top, got that book form, and all the fields are already there for me. Title, pages, genre, and author. So if I wanted to create a new book, let's, what is another book that you like? Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Let's say it's 500 pages, it is fiction, and it is C.S. Lewis. When I submit it here, just like that, what happens is when I hit the submit button on my book form, it jumps over to views.py, goes to the book create method. It's a post request this time, so it is a valid form. It saves it into the database, like the record that I passed in, and redirects me to the book list. And you can kind of see there's my 4th book. And I can verify that it is actually in the database by hitting number 4, and then there it is. If I do 40, obviously there's not 40 books in my database right now. It's a 404 page. Remember, it's get object or 404, it blows up right there. No book matches the given query. So far, we're able to read all the books, read an individual book. We're able to create a book. So we did the C and the R, and now we have to do the U and the D, the update and the delete. So I'm just going to go path /books/edit/some book ID. What's going to happen here is I'm going to send them to the views file, specifically the book update method, and we're going to find the book, we're going to give them the form, and then we're going to update it. So inside of book update, I'm going to create that method real quick, def book update request. And it looks almost the same as book create. What I'm going to do is I am going to first get the book from the database. That's the same thing that we're doing over here. We're going to get the book from the database because we know exactly which one we're talking about. Then we're going to pass in we're going to create a new instance of the form. It's either going to be a post request or not a post request. But since we know exactly which instance we're talking about, we're going to pass in that entire book right over here. If the form's valid, meaning it's a post request, I'm going to save it and redirect them. Otherwise, I'm going to just render the template. I believe the template name is called book form. What's that? URLs.
It's missing the book ID.
Oh, good call. Oh, yeah, right there.
So what is it? I'm sorry. What is that? So if the form is valid.
So the form is an instance of book form.
Yeah.
Okay. Book form is a child of model form. Model form has something called is valid on the class itself.
Yep.
So basically, they're saying that is the form filled out. If the form is filled out, then save it, and then redirect them. If the form's not filled out,
Then it goes back to
then it goes back to the form, like an empty form.
Okay.
So very similar to this book create right over here. I'm getting the book from the database, creating a form from it. Since the form is, I'm updating something, it needs to be passed in this instance called book, which is found here on line 26. If you filled out the form, then save it and redirect them. Otherwise, take them to the book form page and say that you're editing this particular book with the contents already inside of there. So if I wanted to edit The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe to the actual number of pages, I go to books/edit/form, and there's that book form. The word that shows up at the very top is edit. And since I passed in the instance on line 27, it already fills in the title, the pages, the genre, and the author. So let's say Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe book pages. There are 208 pages in this one, so we were very, very far off. So if I change the pages to 208 and I hit submit, when I hit submit here, the form is valid is going to fire off because you did fill it out. It's going to be a post request here. It's going to save it to the database and redirect you back to the book list. When I hit submit, you'll notice that the number of pages did change. It is still number 4. If I go back to number 4, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe with 208 pages, like we saw a little bit earlier. The final thing that we have to do, we've done the read for all of them, the read for an individual book, the create for a new book, the edit, the update portion, and the last thing we need to do is this delete. So I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to do /books/delete/some number. It's going to take me to the views book delete method. Doesn't exist yet, so I'm just going to grab it. So I've got this book delete method over here. It takes in an ID number that comes from the request right over here. I'm going to find that book inside the database. If the method is equal to a post request, I'm going to delete the book and redirect them to the book list. Otherwise, I'm just going to render the form that says, are you sure that you want to delete this particular book? So I've created a template called book confirm delete. It's not inside my templates. Let's create that really, really fast. It's called book confirm delete.html. And I'm just going to create a quick form right over here. Book delete. Are you sure you want to delete some book title? I'm going to get rid of these. So it's just a quick form. The form method is a post. And then it literally just is a form. So if I go back over here to /delete/dark tower, are you sure you want to delete? Uh-oh. Do I need the string?
I think the whole thing must be. No, it's going to be the tag.
It could be the fact that it's in a tag, but let's take a look here. So the way that I'm troubleshooting this is that when I go to book/delete/3. Nothing shows up over here. So if I were to just go all the way back and have nothing open, the way that I would look is, okay, I need to look for this particular URL. So anytime that anybody makes a request to /books, it takes me to the books URLs. The books URLs delete takes me to book delete under views. So I go inside of views, and I found it. We passed it in as object. So it looks like if you take a look inside of the book confirm delete template, it just says book.title, but we actually passed it in as object. So if I change this to object.title, make sure you want delete dark tower shows up. Now object is not great, so I'm going to change this back to book and change what I'm passing in also as book. Coming back over here, are you sure you want to delete dark tower? Sure, I want to delete it. And you'll notice that 1, 2, 4, now it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. If I jump over it and try to take a look at number 3, it actually doesn't exist because I deleted it entirely from the database. Yep. I don't need to because I only have one model.
But it won't, like, it won't make language more than ID3.
It's an extremely dangerous game that you're playing there. Because think about it, right? Like if we, let's say we have like 100,000 people inside of Chase Bank. Now Bill Gates is number 4 and I'm number 5. If Bill Gates says, I no longer want to like have my account, and they close it out and I'm now number 4, one, there's no data integrity because like I've moved up. And so like I'm not, your data's not really, like, this was a bad example. I thought I could take over Bill Gates' account. That's not working. But in general, once you delete something from the database, it's gone. So it'll just skip over that sequence, that number in the database.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so you never use the ID of 3 again in that database ever?
You will never use, so you will never use the ID of 3 when it comes to books ever. So the book table has 4 records inside of it now. If you delete number 3 is gone forever. You will never use that again.
It seems like numbers would be absurdly huge for certain, something else.
Yes. Yeah. So if you go to Groupon now, like I know this because I used to work there. So if you go to Groupon and you take a look at a user's Groupons, it's actually not a number anymore at the end. They just use like a series of characters and letters and dashes to actually have unique things and not look up by number. Having numbers in the URL is fine for right now, but eventually if you go to like even Amazon.com, your username is not saved as Amazon.com/user/4. You're not going to do that. You're going to save it as some sort of unique identifier. But for right now, just to learn, we're going to just use ID numbers.
If you re-migrated everything?
Yep. If you dropped your database and remigrated, then you would restart it. But if you migrated again, like it knows SQLite and Postgres know to skip over the things that you've already done. All right, last little bit, and then we'll jump into today's work. There was a few things that I deleted a little bit earlier that I want to bring back. So if I go under this main page, there should be an ability to just click on each individual one to view, edit, and delete all at one time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in 3 more things inside of book list. I'm going to throw in these 4 right over here. I'm going to do view, edit, and delete. Got view, edit, and delete for each one of those. Now, if I hover over it, and if you take a look in the bottom left, you'll also see this happening. /book/1, /edit/1, /delete/1, and it corresponds with each individual one. The way that this works is that I created 3 more table headers at the very top, 10, 11, and 12, and I'm interpolating a bunch of stuff down over here. So I'm creating a URL using book view, which doesn't really exist as an actual URL itself. But if you look over here, there's that book view, the named route that we created earlier. So I'm saying I'm creating a URL called book view, and it needs a book ID. It needs an ID number right over here. So I'm just going to pass in the book ID number. And it's going to, from this, it's going to create a URL that says view on it, but goes to this route. Same thing with book edit and book delete. Taking a look at book delete. Book delete's not really a URL, but it's a named route right over here. Book delete requires a book ID inside the URL. So I'm passing that in using book ID and book list. And from here, I have everything that I'm ever going to need. I got that view. I can edit it if I need to. Harry Potter 2, 10,001 pages. There's that 10,001, Harry Potter 2, and if I want to delete Harry Potter 2, it goes away just like that. And then we'll just create one last thing, and we'll get started on today's stuff. At the very end, we'll just create a new URL to create a new book. So URL, book new. What is book new? I don't know. Book new is right there inside of here. It's a named route. That's the name equals. So it's going to take me to /books/new. Refresh the page, new, /books/new. We build a collection, 3, 2, 1. There's my last book that I created.
So how, I know the template is thing you can inherit those stuff. How in depth would you recommend for the template focus on the front end stuff? Because I don't know how they necessarily mix now. Yeah. How would you just make the bare bones kind of like this, and then?
Yes. Yeah. The question was, right now, what we're doing is we're creating what's called a full stack Django app. Full stack meaning back end and front end together. So everything that's happening underneath the hood is found more or less inside of views.py. This views.py file is talking with the database using the models. It's telling what front-end HTML file to use. It's going to be passing in certain things. So this is the back-end code. If you like this particular stuff where you're not able to see anything, you're more of a back-end person. If you're more of a visual person, like once I get to booklist.html, right now, all I've got is just a bunch of bare bones HTML. And you like this stuff a little bit more, you might be a front-end developer. But what we're doing right now is we're doing full-stack web development, which is we're taking care of both the back end, which talks to the database, and the front end, which is what we see. One app is doing everything. Pretty soon, though, we're going to just have Django take care of just the back end. And instead of rendering out this information to the book list, I'm just taking this portion out and just passing off data to something else. The something else is going to be React, and then React is going to have a front end that interpolates all of these things just like we're doing right over here. Any other questions?
So React is going to replace templates?
React is going to replace templates, yeah. That is. We won't use this at all. Yeah. So right now you can focus as much or as little on the HTML as you want to, because pretty soon we're going to jump over entirely to React. Let's take a look at what we've got for today. Again, everything is, I hate to say it, but it's kind of all repetition. If you can fire this stuff off really, really fast and understand what's going on, you're in a good spot. But other than that, you can just copy and paste and just kind of understand what's going on. It's going to be a lot of repetition over the next few days. Today's challenges are, one is just kind of go through this whole thing that I did today. All of the code is right here. And we just have one challenge called to-do list. You're going to create a to-do list. That's pretty much it. So I want to see all the things I want to do. I want to show like each individual one if there's some details about it. I want to be able to create new to-do things. I want to save them inside the database. I want to be able to edit them. I want to be able to update them, and I want to be able to destroy them as well. You can replace this with anything you want: apples, beer, wine, like anything like this. Just get a lot of practice.
The question on your function in class, I think in the view, in some portions you use a method. Yeah, some portions use a class. Would you recommend us to start using classes now, or keep it functional?
I would keep it functional. They do have what's called class-based and generic-based
Yeah, I
views,
saw
and I don't like it. I think this one, this one reads more similarly to other frameworks. But yeah, there is class-based and generic-based views. I actually took that out because I was like, I think this will just confuse people because we're never touching it again.
Can you go to your book list HTML?
Mm-hmm.
Scroll down, please. So I saw on just lines 22 to 24 that you were doing the templates in there.
Yep.
But you have a double quote, and it looks like it stops there. It's recognizing that as a double quote.
Yep.
So I was trying to figure that out.
This one is, because it's not pure. It's not pure HTML. The formatting gets a little funky. I don't know how to change it.
In book view?
Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's see if this works. Localhost 8000/quotes. I guess we can. Cool. That is one way to get around it, but it's literally just because we have HTML formatting here on the bottom right-hand corner, and this is HTML and Python together. So the formatting is not going to be perfect in terms of color. Okay, that's all I've got for today. We'll get started on the challenges, and let us know if you have any questions.